What if the secret to wealth wasn't a mystery, but a law? Not a law created by governments, but a natural, timeless law as predictable and immutable as gravity. A force that governs the flow of money, assets, and prosperity. For most people, this force remains unseen. They struggle against it, not realizing their actions are in direct conflict with its principles. But for a select few, the financially free, the truly wealthy, these principles are a roadmap, a blueprint for a life of stability, intention, and abundance. For centuries, this wisdom has been passed down through parables and texts, from the ancient parables of the richest man in Babylon to the modern, psychological insights of Morgan Housel. It is not about a single magic trick or a get-rich-quick scheme. It is about a system of interconnected principles. In this report, 19 of these timeless principles have been distilled and organized, a comprehensive guide to understanding and mastering the law of money. By aligning actions with these laws, anyone can build a life of financial security, regardless of their starting point. Part 1. The Foundational Laws, the Immutable Principles. The journey to wealth begins not with investments or complex strategies, but with simple, often boring habits that form an unshakable financial foundation. These are the bedrock principles that must be mastered before any true and lasting progress can be made. Law 1. The law of paying yourself first. This is arguably the most powerful and fundamental of all the laws. It comes from the ancient wisdom of Babylon and states that a portion of everything earned is rightfully one's own to keep. The principle is simple: before paying any bills, buying groceries, or spending on entertainment, one must set aside at least 10% of their income and put it into savings or investments. For most people, this is a counterintuitive concept. The typical approach is to pay for everything else, taxes, rent, food, and wants, and then attempt to save with whatever is left at the end of the month. This often results in saving very little or nothing at all. Paying oneself first flips this script, turning savings from a secondary activity into the primary, non-negotiable bill of the month. This ensures financial growth is prioritized, and over time, even small, consistent savings can grow into significant wealth. Law 2. The Law of the Frugal Mindset. This law is a direct complement to the first. It is the understanding that to accumulate wealth, one must consciously control their expenses by distinguishing between needs and wants. This is not about deprivation or living a life of scarcity, it's about making smart, intentional choices to live below one's means. The central challenge is a phenomenon described as lifestyle creep, where one's necessary expenses will always grow to equal their income unless they deliberately protest this tendency. The law of the frugal mindset involves avoiding the pressure to constantly upgrade one's lifestyle just to look rich. Instead, it embraces a deeper form of contentment that is not tied to material possessions or costly social comparisons. This intentional control over spending frees up money for saving and investing, a key characteristic found in many self-made millionaires who lead disciplined, frugal lifestyles. Law 3. The Law of the Debt-Free Life. Debt is a financial trap that can severely limit one's freedom and potential for wealth creation. The law of the debt-free life acknowledges that not all debt is created equal, but it mandates a clear strategy for managing and eliminating it. This principle draws a crucial distinction between good debt and bad debt. Good debt, such as a low-interest mortgage, business loan, or educational loan, is used to acquire assets that can increase in value or generate income. In contrast, bad debt is high-interest debt, like credit card balances used for depreciating assets such as clothing or furniture. The law prescribes a disciplined approach to managing good debt and avoiding bad debt entirely. It recommends only charging on a credit card what can be paid off in full each month and using strategies like the avalanche or snowball method to pay down existing balances faster. The ultimate goal is to have a clear plan for rapid repayment, thereby escaping a cycle of interest payments and freeing up cash flow to build lasting wealth. Law 4. The Law of the Living Budget. A budget is not a cage or a list of restrictions, it is a living plan for one's money that ensures every single dollar has a purpose. This law emphasizes that an effective budget is a proactive tool for freedom, not a reactive tool for restriction. It helps to intentionally allocate income and prevent impulse purchases by giving money a job to do. There are various frameworks for applying this law, such as the 50/20/30 budget, which allocates net income to needs, 50%, savings, 20%, and wants, 30%. Another method is the zero-based budget, where every dollar is assigned to a specific expense, leaving a balance of zero, ensuring every cent is accounted for. Regardless of the method, the key is to be consistent, organized, and to review spending regularly to see where small expenditures add up to big monthly costs. A well-structured budget is the GPS for one's financial journey, providing clarity, control, and a clear path toward goals. Part 2, the Mindset Laws, Mastering Your Inner Game. Once the foundational habits are in place, the real work begins, mastering the psychological and emotional forces that shape financial decisions. The most powerful tool for wealth creation is not a balance sheet, it is the mind itself. Law 5, the Law of the Abundance Mindset. This law is a profound shift in perspective. It moves away from a scarcity mindset, the belief that there's never enough money and that one must constantly work harder just to keep what they have, to an abundance mindset. An abundance mindset assumes that opportunity is infinite and that wealth naturally flows when one makes smart, intentional decisions. The person who operates from scarcity is often ruled by fear, which can lead to oversaving, underinvesting, or even hoarding cash. They are more likely to compare themselves to others, which is a surefire path to unhappiness and unnecessary spending. In contrast, a person with an abundance mindset approaches finances with a long-term, growth-oriented vision. They see calculated risks as opportunities and understand that their financial trajectory can be rewritten without relying on luck or a lottery ticket. Law 6, the Law of Time. Time is not just a unit of measure, it is an active financial asset, arguably the most powerful one. This law recognizes that the financial markets have historically rewarded long-term investors, and that starting early is the single most important factor for success. The cost of procrastination is staggering. A person who starts investing a small amount in their 20s and stops in their 30s will likely have more wealth in their 60s than someone who starts in their 30s and invests the same total amount over a longer period. The law of time is the engine behind the power of compounding. It is about focusing on time in the market rather than the futile effort of timing the market. It teaches that the longer one allows their money to grow, the more substantial and exponential the growth becomes. Law 7, the Law of Emotional Control. Financial decisions are not purely logical, they are deeply influenced by human psychology, emotions, and biases. This law mandates the mastery of one's inner world to avoid costly mistakes. Common emotional biases include loss aversion. The pain of losing money is felt approximately 2.25 times more strongly than the pleasure of gaining an equivalent amount, causing people to hold on to losing investments for too long or sell winning ones too early out of fear. Confirmation bias. The tendency to seek out and favor information that confirms existing beliefs while ignoring contradictory evidence. Herd mentality. Making decisions simply because everyone else is doing it, often driven by a fear of missing out, FOMO. Mastering this law means being able to stay calm and rational in the face of market fluctuations. It is about having the discipline to make decisions based on a pre-established plan, not on the fear and greed that control the majority of investors. As legendary investor Warren Buffett famously said, "Be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful." Law 8, the Law of Independent Thinking. This law states that to achieve financial success, one must cultivate a mindset that thinks differently than the average person. While the crowd is often driven by emotional biases and herd mentality, the truly wealthy spend their time and energy creating their own path. Financial history is littered with examples of the crowd being wrong, from the dot-com bubble of the late 90s to more recent speculative frenzies. The person who masters independent thinking has the mental fortitude to avoid following the crowd and to stick to a rational, predetermined financial plan, even when it feels uncomfortable. This ability to form and stick to a personal conviction is a hallmark of the millionaire mindset and a critical component of long-term success. Law 9, the Law of Action. While financial discipline and patience are critical, they are useless without the will to act. This law acknowledges that luck plays a role in every financial outcome, but it reveals that Lady Luck favors men of action. It is not about reckless gambles, but about taking informed, calculated risks and having a bias toward action. The person who understands this law knows that a plan is just a theory until it is executed. They don't wait for conditions to be perfect to start. They begin, they iterate quickly, and they learn from their mistakes. This proactive approach allows them to recognize and seize opportunities when they arise, using their skills and disciplined habits to create success. The law of action provides the necessary counterbalance to the other laws, turning financial knowledge into a living, dynamic force. Law 10, the law of compound interest. Albert Einstein reportedly called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. This law explains how your money can grow exponentially over time by earning returns not only on your initial investment but also on the interest that has already accumulated. The process is like a snowball rolling down a hill. It starts small, but the longer it rolls, the more and more snow it picks up, growing at an accelerating rate. The true power of this law is rooted in consistency in time. It's less about achieving high returns in a short period and more about making regular contributions and allowing your money to work for you over many years. A simple way to visualize this is with the rule of 72, which states that by dividing 72 by the annual interest rate, you can estimate how long it will take for your investment to double. Law 11, the law of diversification. Often referred to as the only free lunch in the investment game, this law involves spreading investments both among and within different asset classes, such as stocks, bonds, and real estate. The central idea is that different assets respond to changing economic conditions in different ways. By holding a variety of assets that are not perfectly correlated, an investor can reduce the overall risk of their portfolio. Diversification protects against major losses that can result from overemphasizing a single security or asset class. For example, a portfolio with only a single stock is exposed to concentration risk, whereas one that includes multiple stocks across different industries and geographies is more resilient. This law also involves the discipline of rebalancing, which means periodically adjusting one's holdings to ensure the portfolio aligns with its original target asset allocation as market performance changes. Law 12, the law of long-term investing. This law is the natural application of the law of time and the law of compound interest. It is a focus on long-term gains rather than short-term profits. The most successful investors, like Warren Buffett, emphasize a long-term mindset, focusing on a company's ability to grow over years and decades, not just days. A person who applies this law understands that trying to time the market, predicting when it will rise or fall, is a futile effort that often results in missing the market's best days and leads to losses. Instead, they focus on being consistent with their contributions and allowing their money to ride out the natural market cycles and work for them over the long haul. This approach requires patience, a cornerstone of financial maturity that prevents emotional decision-making during periods of market volatility. Law 13, the law of value. This law dictates that a smart investor knows the value of an asset, not just its price. The price is what a person pays, but the value is what they get. A person who buys based on a flashy headline or a temporary dip is making a decision based on emotion and hype. The law of value, however, requires a deeper, more analytical approach. It means looking at a company's fundamentals, its earnings, growth potential, debt, and market position, before deciding if it is worth buying. This principle is the antidote to chasing trends and is a direct application of the law of independent thinking, as it requires one to do their own homework and invest in what they genuinely understand. Law 14, the law of risk. Risk is an inherent part of investing, but this law states that it must be carefully managed and guarded against. It warns against investing in things one doesn't fully understand or that carry unnecessarily high risks, such as get-rich-quick schemes. Warren Buffett's famous rule number 1, never lose money, is not a literal command to avoid all loss but a philosophy of avoiding unnecessary and catastrophic risks. A person who understands this law recognizes that while they cannot control market risk, they can control their exposure to it. This means balancing growth potential with capital preservation and understanding that success is not just about making money but also about protecting what has been earned. The painful emotional cost of loss, felt more acutely than the joy of gain, makes this law even more critical to long-term financial well-being. Part 4, the strategic laws, expanding your financial universe. With the foundational habits in place, the mindset cultivated, and the growth strategies implemented, one can begin to proactively expand their financial universe through advanced, strategic laws. Law 15, the law of passive income. Wealthy individuals rarely rely on a single paycheck to sustain their lifestyles. This law dictates the creation of multiple income streams that require little to no active effort to maintain once the initial work is done. Passive income provides financial security, freedom, and the ability to retire earlier. This can be achieved through various avenues. Investments. Passive income can come from low-turnover funds, dividend-paying stocks, or real estate investment trusts, REITs. Digital products. Creating an ebook, an online course, or licensing music or stock photos can generate ongoing income after the initial effort is complete. The sharing economy. Renting out a spare room, a vehicle, or even an used garage space for storage can create steady, low-effort income streams. The law of passive income is a powerful way to accelerate wealth accumulation and create a safety net that is not dependent on a single job. Law 16, the law of continuous learning. Your greatest asset is not your stock portfolio or your bank account, it is your mind. This law states that the more valuable you become, the more you can earn. Investing in oneself is a critical principle for long-term success. Self-made millionaires, for example, read for self-education every single day, not for entertainment, but for growth. They dive into books on leadership, business, and investing, staying sharp and ahead of the curve. This is an acknowledgement that the world is in a constant state of learning and that the ability to adapt and grow is the most reliable path to increasing one's earning power and unlocking new financial opportunities. Law 17, the law of a financial team. Building and protecting wealth is a complex, long-term endeavor that requires expertise beyond one's own. This law encourages seeking advice from the wise and building a trusted team of financial professionals, including financial advisors, tax specialists, and estate planning attorneys. This team provides several critical functions. They can help navigate the complexities of investment, risk management, and tax law, helping to ensure that a person's hard work leads to lasting results. They also play a crucial role in helping a person understand and overcome their own behavioral biases, providing an objective, rational voice when emotions run high. Emotional intelligence has become a key component of financial advising, as it allows professionals to understand a client's unique values and emotional triggers, building a deeper, more effective relationship. Part 5, the legacy laws. Wealth beyond accumulation. The final section addresses the ultimate purpose of money. It answers the question, what is the point of all this, and shifts the focus from simple accumulation to intentional impact and legacy. Law 18, the law of generational wealth. True wealth is not just about personal accumulation, it is about building a financial legacy that can benefit a family for generations to come. This law acknowledges the responsibility of the wealthy to protect and transfer their assets with purpose, ensuring their values are passed down along with their money. A critical component of this law is the financial education of the next generation. This involves teaching children and grandchildren the basic principles of saving, investing, and giving back from a young age. It is about preparing them to manage their assets responsibly so that wealth becomes a tool for opportunity, not a source of conflict or a trigger for frivolous spending. A well-structured estate plan, which includes wills and trusts, is a vital part of this law, ensuring that wealth is transferred according to one's wishes and that the legacy is not lost to disputes or unforeseen events. Law 19, the law of purposeful wealth. The final and most profound law is the understanding that money is a tool, not a goal. It is a vehicle that can be used to live with purpose, freedom, and impact, and it finds its ultimate meaning when it is used to make a positive impact on the world. This law encourages a redefinition of what wealth means. It's not just about a high net worth, but about emotional well-being, strong relationships, personal growth, and the ability to pursue passions and dreams. Philanthropy and giving back are not just moral choices, they can also be a strategic part of this law, aligning investments with one's values and supporting social change. For companies, charitable giving can lead to a better brand image, increased customer loyalty, and improved employee engagement. For the individual, it provides a sense of fulfillment that extends beyond simple accumulation. This law is the culmination of all the others, providing a reason for the journey in the first place. Conclusion: your lifelong mission. The law of money is not a secret, it is an open system of principles that, when understood and applied with discipline, can fundamentally transform one's financial life. From the foundational habit of paying oneself first to the profound act of purposeful giving, these 19 laws are deeply interconnected. They are not a simple checklist but a holistic framework for living. Financial freedom is not a mystery, it is the natural result of taking action in alignment with these timeless laws. The journey begins with a single step, choosing one of these principles and making it a conscious habit. This is not a passive journey. It is a lifelong mission to align one's actions, emotions, and intentions with the unseen forces that govern wealth. The result is a life not just of accumulation, but of true abundance, security, and purpose.